Now return to Let's Play Suzerain. Alright, Sordland today. Taurus workers on strike. A small group of construction workers recruited by Taurus Holding to work on the L1 railway project are striking out near the construction site in Gelsord. The workers complained about their payments as well as lack of safety regulations. Did we not pass the Workers' Rights Act? One worker in contact with Sordland today insisted that the group has not been paid for any of their work for the past months. Despite complaining to the Taurus Holding supervisors, the workers said that the situation has persisted. They say the project budget is not enough. They're not interested in us, they said. The complaint soon turned to a strike, which made the construction come to a halt. According to our sources, officials from the Taurus Holding have promised to deliver the project much cheaper than its actual costs and provide the administration with fake documents. Okay, so that did come to bite me in the ass. Why this, though? Like, we passed the Workers' Rights Act. This is all on them. But that means the railway is just not getting done. So, report from the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice reports that the restructuring of the ministry has been completed with success after the increase of its budget. According to the report, a large portion of the budget was transferred specifically to solve the case backlog issues at lower courts, which has already helped ease the situation. Additional efforts will be directed at fighting corruption, upholding the integrity of judges, and the consolidation of the rule of law. Minister Morgna said that she intends to bring back trust in the justice system with more accessible and efficient courts, a public information campaign, and by rooting out corruption in society. The opening of the Benfey Festival, the Benfey High Arts Center in Benfey. Our motorcade slowly made its way towards the magnificent Benfey High Arts Center. Night was falling and the festival was about to begin. I flipped through the brochure that had been given to us at the hotel. Monica's face was featured on the front page, but the schedule on the inside still said that Curtin Lest, mayor of Anrica, would be making the opening remarks. My last-minute announcement that my wife would be replacing Curtin must have caused some confusion at the print shop. The Benfey Festival was one of the biggest events of the year. It originally marked the start of the annual religious pilgrimage, a weeks-long journey still undertaken by devout Neurists, but today it was better known as a cultural celebration that drew thousands of revelers to the city. There were film screenings, concerts, theater and dance performances, art exhibitions, and celebrity-studded nightly galas. The opening ceremonies were broadcast on TV and watched by millions. As the car slowed, a coterie of reporters and security guards rushed to meet us. I turned my attention to Monica. She nervously eyed the waiting crowd. Silent support, or just... which is actually going to be better here? See, now, just based upon the things that I thought were going fine, and then the last couple episodes have been totally hitting me in the gut, telling me that I'm actually a failure, and that I'm not going to get this Constitution passed, now I'm thinking that there are little things in the background that make a difference. Like, there's a lot more statistics in the mechanics of the game that determine success. Like being friendly versus being professional, being cold, everything seems to have some statistic tied to it, and I don't know. Is holding her hand going to silently give her the support she needs, and she'll do the speech just fine? Or saying, don't worry, you're going to be fine, she'll still have butterflies, and she'll fuck it up. Like, is this an event you can fuck up? Just based upon these? It seems like every decision literally has something. I don't know. Like, both of these are supportive, but they're supportive in a different way. Do we go strong and silent, or do we just actually say, vocally, here's support? God, this game is messing with my head now. I don't know. I mean, this gesture publicly shows support for my wife, which maybe gives her even more? I don't fucking know. Because on the one hand, this could also, like, she doesn't know. Like, maybe we have a relationship that's good enough that holding her hand shows silent support, but what if she also sees it as just, like, smiling for the cameras, holding hands like it's a political gesture, not, you know? Fuck. Alright, let's just do something we know is supportive. You're going to be fine. She gave me a smile, looking somewhat comforted. Thanks, Anton, I appreciate it. As soon as Sergei opened the door, we were enveloped by the roar of the crowd. The next few minutes were a blur of handshakes, photos, and reporters' questions. The onlookers cheered as we walked the red carpet to the newly built arts center. We followed the guards through the cavernous white halls until we came to a set of arched doors leading to the auditorium. We waited outside as security did a quick sweep of the area, then headed in. So this is it. I'll finally stand on the same platform as you. A platform where Sordland's women will have their voices heard and acknowledged for the first time. Break a leg? Break a leg! The two of us proceeded to the podium. I spoke first, delivering a short paragraph about the importance of Benfey and the festival to Sordland. I then introduced Monica. Thunderous applause echoed around the auditorium as she stepped to the microphone. I exited the stage and found my seat, right next to Curtin Lest. Did we look at him? I think we did. Lawyer, primary, secondary education, Benfey, moved to capital. I think we did. The dates seem familiar to me. Yeah, I think we did. Ladies and gentlemen, as the First Lady of Sordland, I welcome all of you to the Benfey Festival. The crowd erupted again, clapping and cheering. Curtin Lest leaned over and hissed into my ear. Mr. President, I'm afraid you've made a great mistake. There will be consequences. Are you threatening me, Curtin? No, I'm merely telling what will happen. Your little stunt has lost you my support in the assembly. I kept my eyes on the stage. When the applause subsided, Monica resumed her speech. This festival holds a very important place in all of our hearts. It is a celebration of art, music, theater, but above all, it is a celebration of the people of Benfey, of their free and open-minded spirit. As we all unite for the festivities, we must not forget the values that have inspired them. Today marks the beginning of the Week of the Spirit, a time of vitality, growth, and new beginnings. The crowd was hanging on her every word, but the mayor of Anrica and his entourage didn't seem as impressed. Well, again, public support matters a lot more than that. I stand on this podium today to speak about change, about a new beginning for our society. Sordland calls itself a free country, yet half of its citizens are still barred from enjoying the same freedoms that the other half takes for granted. I refer to myself and my fellow women. A rumble went through the crowd, scattered applause mixed with murmurs of discontent. Uh-oh. To truly move forward, we must make a break from old traditions and strive towards equality for all, equal rights, equal pay, equal access to education. Enough! Oh boy. The entire hall fell silent. The mayor of Anrica rose and spoke. I will not let this woman besmirch the traditions upon which our great country was built. Mr. Lest, please sit down. No, Anton, I can no longer sit idly by. We are past that point. Curtin turned towards the audience, speaking loudly enough to be heard without a microphone. Mrs. Rayne, what right do you possibly have to pass judgment on our values as Sordish citizens? You are not a politician, you are not a speaker, you are merely a woman who's lucky enough to be married to the president. Your place is not at this podium, it is at home, tending to your husband and children. The crowd was growing rowdier. Some booed and jeered at Curtin's words, others whooped in approval. Monica froze completely. The audience grew louder. I had to do something. I walked up to the stage and stood beside my wife at the podium. The mayor was still standing defiantly in the front row. Oh boy. So we can go hurling insults. That seems to be what's going on here. The crowd is looking for a spectacle. But on the other hand, this completely undermines her, because here's the man coming forward to solve the problem. We could be the adult in the room here, instead of doing the shouting contest. Either of these, he's not going to back down. If anything, he's just going to walk out in a huff. But we're on the stage here, so we can at least be the adult in the room here. Mr. Lest, please calm down. Take your seat and let her finish. Now. I will not stand idly by as our swordish values are being tested, especially by our very own president and his harlot of a wife. Oh boy. Oh boy. Here we go. Yeah, let's just keep control. Please do not make me repeat myself. Or what? You'll have me kicked out? I could. But that kind of plays into the whole the president is being a tyrant here, doesn't it? I mean, this puts pressure on him. Like, you'll stay and watch, and you'll behave yourself. And if he decides not to, well, that looks worse for him, right? You will stay and watch the speech without interrupting it. Curtin's response was nearly drowned out by the booing crowd. I will not stay where I'm not wanted. Clearly that's the case. Curtin grabbed his coat and made his way to the exit. The men who had been sitting with him got up and followed him out. Having regained her composure, Monica stepped back behind the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, this incident only serves to demonstrate how visibly divided our country is today. My intention was not to offend or harm anyone. It is unfortunate that even the mention of modern ideals still does not resonate with many in Sordland. I hope we can set aside our differences one day, and walk towards a happier, brighter future for all of Sordland's citizens, male and female alike. We must all remember the future cannot exist without the past. And I believe we're witnessing the meeting of our glorious past and our bright future right here in Benfey today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to officially open the Benfey Festival. Amorgna vescore. Vectern sis da. Most of the audience finished the decades-old saying, but nervous whispers still emanated around the room. The opening event was finally finished. But my troubles with Curtin were not. I let Monica and my entourage know we'd be flying straight back to Holsword. I was in for yet another sleepless night. So we're pushing even further into this whole the Constitution's not going to get passed thing. But I think the game on certain things the game does not lie. And even though this says most likely, right? I have most likely failed. I think the fact that even the reformists were not on board, I think says that we've lost that fight. This is now basically going to be a fight for survival here. The news, the Holsword Post. Groenie returns to normal life. This week, with the actions of the government and the police, the protests in the Groenie region came to an end, which have paralyzed the economy and left several people dead. One protest leader from Volgan said, "We want peace and unity. Nobody wants to see riots or violence. We are fed up with police brutality." Geopolitico. Wayland deploying special forces to Vernon. President Smolak has announced that the city of Vernon has been put under curfew along with 7 other towns in the northeast of the country. The Wezek army has deployed specially trained military forces in order to combat the militant organization known as the British Freedom Front. Wayland has increased its efforts in fighting terrorism with aerial campaigns and ground operations targeting BFF militants and their hidden bases. This operation will surely have consequences for the region, particularly for the neighboring countries of Lesbia, Rumburg, and particularly Sordland, which has a large population of British people living inside of its borders. I feel like we've already had that one. Where's Vernon? It's right there. Alright, Suzerain. Refugees of Vernon. Okay. Reports from our border in the Wezek city Vernon show that there are about 1,000 people running away from Wezek military forces toward the Sordish border. Lockhaven. Calm returns to Nargis. The protests and occasional looting of the past weeks have ceased to occur in the region of Nargis, particularly in the city of Lockhaven. The Lockhaven police force has reported that the situation is now under control despite several small protests still going on across the region. That's fine. We managed to handle that without grossly blowing up the military and or police presence, so I'm at least happy with that. Downtime at home. Residence of the President of Sordland. It felt like an eternity since the Benfey Festival. Had it really only been less than 24 hours? I was at home now, drinking an afternoon coffee on my balcony. That's not a good thing to be doing, Mr. President. No wonder you have sleepless nights. A stack of newspapers lay up by my side. I picked them up one by one, reading and rereading the articles about the festival. Some of the papers came out in full support of the First Lady for her brave speech, others took Curtin's side. Nearly all of them agreed that the First Lady had acquitted herself very well following the interruption. I was putting the last newspaper down as Monica joined me on the balcony. Listen, can we talk for a bit? Of course. What is it? Monica sat and picked up the nearest newspaper. She pointed to a particularly insulting headline on the front page. I never in a million years would have wished for this, Anton. I just wanted to thank you for supporting me and apologize for creating such a spectacle. All I wanted was to bring the people of Sordland together, the way you're able to, but not like this. Yeah, in hindsight, if I had known, I'm not sure this isn't a good trade for the loss of the Constitution. And potentially the game. If it is, however, the end of the game already, what next then? Is there an opportunity for this to come around yet? I mean, the whole thing hasn't been passed yet, right? So, will political pressure from the populace flip this? I mean, the game doesn't lie, but it also says most likely, which is ambivalent. Possibly meaning that there is an opportunity for this yet to change. I don't know. Maybe there was another way to get this going forward. I don't know. Her eyes were getting moist. A single tear fell onto the newsprint. I don't know. Again, what, there's clearly going to be a difference. Clearly there's going to be a difference. What it is, though, I don't know. Like, this is a potentially tender thing that could improve our relationship together? But is there also a thing here where, like, yeah, like her personality comes to rely upon me for comfort, whereas this would make her a little bit stronger, a little bit bolder, and potentially a little bit colder, and yet able to hold her own if she's going to go down this path? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what these fucking do. Is this... last time was a gesture, and I chose words. That seemed to be the best choice. Is this a moment for a gesture? Instead of words? Because this is basically calling her weak right now, too. Alright, wipe her tears away. I leaned forward and wiped her tears from her eyes. She clasped my hand to her face. Oh, Anton. Her eyes filled with gratitude. I could see she'd slept as little as I had since the festival. Thank you. One more thing. You know how stubborn I am. When I gave that speech, I saw hope in the eyes of all the women in the audience. This is the right path for me, Anton. I want to officially adopt this cause as First Lady, to actually get involved in politics, not just give impromptu speeches. I could even help your education minister with those reforms she's working on. I know this is something you're passionate about as well. Can I count on you? On the one hand, I mean, there's absolutely no reason she can't be doing something like this. On the other hand, does this also start looking like nepotism? Which clearly the conservative side of the country has just voiced it sees it as. Riding my coattails. Not only that, she's not elected. This could just be digging me further down. I mean, we lost the Constitution. How much further can we go? You know? Like, I guess I can just look at it that way. We've already fucked up the game, in my eyes. I don't know that for sure, but I'm willing to bet. The game has hinted that, yeah, my administration so far has been weak and terrible. Even the radical, like, the people that are supposed to be supporting my choices up to this point have said, yeah, this is pretty much a failure of a presidency. So I'm on the idea that, yeah, we've kind of fucked this up. Which is bullshit given that it's very minor choices that seem to have gotten us here. Like, we literally had Gloria Tori agreeing that, okay, I'm feeling generous, we'll do this. But, and then that fucked everything up. Like, really? Do I believe that? Do I believe that the game is that petty, especially if the game isn't close to being done? Although, I don't know. I don't know if it's done. I don't know if we actually ever get to the point of passing a constitution and what comes next. The economy has not vastly improved. The budget goes nowhere. Like, I don't know. Maybe this ends before I have any opportunity for that. The railway is never going to get finished, especially not now with the protests. Oh, fuck it. It's us against the world. I'm looking forward to working closer together. Oh, Anton, this means so much to me. Monica hugged me tightly, and I felt some of the past day's tension melt away. Thank you. A noise came from the balcony door. We both turned our heads to see Deanna standing there. Mama, I'm hungry. Let's go to the kitchen, baby. We'll make Papa the best snack ever. Yeah. They left the balcony and returned half an hour later with a large cookie. That's some quick cookie making. Deanna had written my name and icing on it. As I sipped my coffee and nibbled the cookie, I thought that I'd made the right choice. Well, that doesn't seem to mean much, though everyone else tells me I'm doing terrible. Things were going to get harder, but at least my life at home was somewhat peaceful. That's ominous. My life at home is peaceful. Apparently we've solved whatever that. I could see that being a part of the game, too, that you can break your family at home. So apparently we've solved that sub-quest, whatever. Lockhaven Times. The First Lady gives a speech. Benfey Festival is now in full motion, and the festival goers are enjoying the many attractions set up. However, this year's Benfey Festival started eventfully. The First Lady's opening speech was interrupted by the mayor of Anrica, Curtin Lest, who stood up to the remarks made by the First Lady. Mayor Lest had then continued with his disrespecting accusations, incurring the wrath of the crowd. I'm at least glad for that. I'm at least glad that I, as an antisocial hermit in real life, managed to read the crowd and the social obligations of those choices to pick the right one. We turned the crowd against him. President Rayne has interjected in the developing situation and saved the day. This was a past event. This happened in a newspaper from the previous day. Past tense. Maybe if I fail at being a president, I can go be a newspaper editor. Had interjected in the developing situation and saved the day by calming the attendees. Mayor Lest's disrespect will surely end up damaging his already declining reputation after this event. Whew! Womp womp. Maybe fear of losing the party will put the conservatives to my side now? I mean, I already made my speech. I already made a speech saying, hey, we need to have democratic reforms, and I got a tepid response. Maybe since I was addressing the party and not the entire assembly, which was my understanding, and I guess I bad reading comprehension there, but if I had presence of mind to understand who I was talking to, I could have said, hey, this is for the party's survival, and then something like this would have gone into that. Anyway. Erlery. Arcasian access to the Erlery base. Preparations began in Erlery Air Force Base to expand the hangars and restructure the security of the base in order to welcome Arcasian planes in the short future. Arcasian security and logistics professionals have already been welcomed to the base to work with Sordish officials. That still makes me nervous. We still haven't talked to these people. They keep talking about it. They keep bringing it up. Like, we're going to have talks and discussions for trade and alliances, and we have not done that yet. Lockhaven, Economic Report. The Ministry of Statistics, along with the Ministry of Economy and the Central Bank, have delivered a preliminary economic status report detailing that the recession is ongoing and the system isn't likely to reach stability soon if we don't take serious steps. Minister Hull said the signs were negative. Is it just because of that, or is it because of that, or is it because of both? I need more opportunities to see this. I've made some choices. I've made some damned investments. But is that because the railway failed, that he said? Suzerain. Budget allocation of the Sordish Armed Forces. Fuck me. What's the other one? Discussion on the formation of a new police force. By whom? Karl Grieser arrived for a meeting to discuss the new police force. After Livia informed us of his arrival, Lucian opened the door and let him in. Karl Grieser. Police force administrator, assumed position 1950, sworn in by Lilius Graf. Public ceremony prior to the appointment of his position, he served as chief of police in Arvery. Started his career in law enforcement, his appointment to the police academy in the top 10% of his class. Appointed Deputy Commissioner of Operations. In his capacity, he improved the department's strategies and tactics in reducing crime and solving concerns. Okay, so he is the prodigy of the woman I am now currently pissing off in my cabinet. Hello, Mr. President. Mr. Glade? What a sunny day, isn't it? The weather outside was beautiful indeed. Clear sky and sunshine made the scenery look lively. I could even hear the sounds of birds chirping from the palace garden. It's good to see you, Carl. How have you been? It's been going okay. We've tackled many security issues, but there's still some to go through. But more importantly, the security situation in the country is much more stable, allowing people to return to a normal life. Please have a seat. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable. I'm used to being uncomfortable. Let's have a seat anyway, please. He took a seat and corrected his posture. We've been informed of the establishment of the anti-corruption police under the Ministry of Justice. Indeed so. Minister Morgna has given me full authority to lead the new force in order to fight corruption from within. Well, we don't need to be accusatory already. Congratulations. I hope we'll be close partners in the fight against corruption. Sir, we have a tough and long fight ahead of us. It'll take years, but we will win. You can believe that. I don't know if we have years, Mr. Grieser. I want to make it absolutely clear. My belief in you as a leader is unquestionable. Oh, that's nice. Minister Morgna, though not as inspiring as you are, has also shown great capability. The more I work with her, the more I am convinced that she is a very motivated and efficient administrator. She takes her work personally. Her motivations to fight corruption are real. Thanks to the resource diversion to her ministry, those objectives can now be met. Justice will indeed be served. Carl leaned closer and lowered his voice ever so slightly. It's just the three of us, Carl. There are elements within our state that have ulterior motives, as I've been gaining. What do you mean? May I speak frankly, sir? Of course. There are some very powerful deep state forces inside the administration. Our investigations have just begun, but certain links we have discovered are troubling. Mr. Hawker has financial and other ties to certain figures. He is a dangerous man. Currently, we are collecting evidence to find out exactly what his network comprises of. Well, I already know it's spying on people inside the government. We always suspected the existence of such a deep state. The real question here is who in the government and cabinet is on Mr. Hawker's side. See, stuff like this, they all say the same thing, but apparently they don't. We need to find out who has ulterior motives and root them out of the administration. I think we just do. Like, saying this basically says that while Minister Morgna is indeed his boss, or is he? Actually, isn't that Graf? Because he's interior, and in fact, that was an option earlier that you separated from interior. We did give the funding to justice, though. I don't know. And then this, while saying directly, "Hey, I trust you. Go ahead and do it," it's also a little bit corrupt. I'll protect you. Do what you need to. We need to find out who has ulterior motives and root them out of the administration. I couldn't agree more. Anyone who corrupts our system and creates a parallel organization is a threat to Sordland. The most important subject here is the Old Guard establishment. They pose a direct threat to us. Once enough evidence is gathered, we should be able to begin the corruption trials if we want to. Hawker, Heron, and their cronies in the Supreme Court won't be able to be prosecuted unless the Assembly agrees to it in our new Constitution. Did I just give that away, too? I said I've made that concession, right? And this is exactly what I was afraid of. This is exactly what I was fucking afraid of. It won't be possible to get them if we fail to pass the reforms or we have low political support in the Assembly, but it's still too early to tell. Well, if they agree to it, then I gave concessions that it would be, like, we literally just rewrote this. We wrote that out of the Constitution. Yeah, I fucked this up. This whole run is screwed. I may as well just start over at this point. Besides them, there are other elements we are aware of. The oligarchs seem to have some people on the inside as well. We've received some unconfirmed reports that Mr. Tusk, having bought people in the administration... Yeah. He tried to buy me. They seem to be evading taxes through bribery and exploiting the gray areas in our laws. Our investigators in Estord and Narble have also found some suspicious financial activity from some of their corporations. If their tax returns were to be made public, it would help us track irregularities in the filings. Well, bribery all around is more important. Bribery should be eradicated from the system. We'll do our best, sir. It plagues us from all ends, but the oligarchs seem to have immense influence and money. They keep utilizing it. Marcel Caronti and the HOS also have a strong presence in the media and many other industries. There are some patterns we observe that are unusual. It really seems like they have a powerful influence in the majority of the so-called independent news organizations. They might not be so independent after all. He did offer me a deal before. He should be investigated. But what am I saying here? Like, am I just telling him, yeah, investigate all of these people? Well, we know he offered me a deal before. We certainly can. I wish we had proof of the incident. It would help in a case against him. Yeah. Carl sighed. Last but not least is the opposition leader, Franz Richter. We have received intelligence that he has connections to Arcasia, which is what the, what's-his-face told me. Chief Justice told me. Upon further inquiries, we can't see anything illegal here besides a mismatch of information. The old guard must have pushed this forward. We shouldn't even consider moving on the reformist leader in our position. I mean, yes, but if he's done nothing illegal, why even talk about this? I don't know, I don't want to be dismissive here. If you think this is something that's a big deal, mismatch of information... Why are we even talking about this? If it's not... but see, like, this sounds dismissive, but I want him to give me an opportunity of why he thinks we need to talk about this. Saying he's our ally and we should leave him alone is kind of corrupt. And talking to the head of the new corruption force is not a good thing to do. There's nothing illegal, so why even talk about this? I wanted to disclose all of the information that the ACP has. There are so many potential corruption cases here. Therefore, we need to pick a faction to focus on. We can't investigate everyone within the remainder of this term and come up with a thorough and compelling case. The most logical step would be to use the ACP to pressure either the oligarchs or the old guard. Where should we concentrate our anti-corruption efforts? Well, so far, the oligarchs and the old guard have approached me. Tusk with just money, Hawker with veiled threats. All things considered, I think that the old guard are more important because they're actually part of the government. And if the government is corrupt, it can stop investigations into the oligarchs. It can provide concessions. It can do whatever. Like, we have no teeth going after the oligarchs if we don't have law on our side. And aside from the fact that these guys have bribery, these guys appear to have a spy network, amongst other possible things going on. I think we should investigate Hawker and the old guard. Focus anti-corruption investigations on Hawker and the old guard. Yes, sir. We'll focus our research and investigation on the old guard. Well, it's been decided. That should conclude the meeting. Thank you for your time, Carl. It's a privilege to work with you, President Rayne. Good day. Carl and Lucian left the room. The administration has launched an investigation against the old guard. And there's that one still. Alright. Let's read the news. Old Sword Post. Anti-corruption police formed. A special police department has been formed to fight corruption within the state, businesses, and the police itself. The new anti-corruption force, Anti-Corrupten Polis, will be serving its duties under the Justice Ministry of Sordland. Nia Morgna, Carl Grieser, and other government officials spent the past months building the anti-corruption department from scratch. The unit consists of officers from the General Police Service, the Justice Ministry, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. We're ready, said Carl Grieser, the newly appointed chief of the anti-corruption police. We are ready. We are already conducting a crackdown at corruption within our state institutions. Our officers started working on the intelligence reports, Grieser said. Well, I don't know. Thinking back about that, right? Although I guess, yeah, it kind of also makes sense. Like, if we've lost the ability to reform the Constitution, that means that everything's going to stay the same, including the enormous power that the Supreme Court currently has in the government. So, focusing on their corruption is kind of a big deal right now. But I don't know. We've already pissed off pretty much everybody here. powerful people, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. As I said, though, at the very beginning, the biggest threat to a weak democracy is the military. In this situation, the military seems to also be tied to the old guard. The Solists seems to be the dominant faction. In order to break that, you need to have economic power. You need to have a foil to the, I guess, the nobility, the entrenched power, which so far I feel that I've been doing. I've been putting money into economic projects. Yes, I've been taxing the corporations, but I've also helped the small businesses, and we were told explicitly that it helped them. We've invested in some regions. This railway, I guess, was a bad choice, or at least maybe the choice of construction company was a bad choice. It's not improving. It has not improved between 4 and 5. Even the strike, like, it hasn't moved in a very long time. I'm guessing this will never be done. So right now, this is my only hope. And we don't seem to be doing too well. We still have a lot going on here. This hasn't even ticked over, so we've got stagnant production. Tax avoidance is still going. Hopefully the corruption thing will help with that. There's been a lot of things going wrong there that I guess are still just not helping. So I thought I made choices by sort of democratizing the economy. That has not come about so far. And then, of course, to fight the inevitable oligarchy, you have to democratize the country. And unfortunately, while it seems like things are settling down, and that festival reaction from the public seems to show support, the very fact that I got elected on a reform platform, you'd think I would have the public support to pressure this, but apparently not. I guess I've been biting off too much. But I don't know. It remains to be seen. The game isn't over yet. Though I don't know when it will be. So anyway, we'll end this one here. I'll see you next time.